The Imaginal moment is about intersecting crises: systemic racism, a pandemic, global ecological collapse. It's also about the potential for profound transformation and a new paradigm for design, regenerative design. It grew out of a series of conversations I had with Brian Collins. In fact, an early version was adapted for the Gordon Siegel Lecture at Northwestern University. Then came the Black Lives Matter protests, which quickly turned into a global movement. Not a demand, but an assertion that the time is now for long overdue racial justice, environmental justice, economic justice, and justice itself, no qualifier required. The themes of the essay felt more relevant than ever, but the context needed to be expanded. Right now, though, I want to focus on regenerative design. In architecture, it means building in a way that helps restore the eco-functionality of a landscape. In agriculture, the focus is on restoring the microbiome, the microbiodiversity of the soil. But the basic ideas transcend sector and discipline. Regenerative design is about igniting virtuous circles of goodness. It is expansive, comprehensive, generous, and dynamic. It is driven by a deep understanding of systems, networks, patterns, processes, and potential. To be regenerative is to embrace diversity and understand not only that the whole is always greater than the sum of its parts, but also that each part can have many functions. It is about building systems that grow more robust over time. Now, let's apply this to product design and marketing. How we make, sell, distribute, and buy goods and services has everything to do with what has gone wrong. Human-centered, customer-focused, user-centric. For the last half-century, consumer experience has defined design. Entrepreneurs have been trained to look for customer pain points, then slap together bare-bones, minimum viable products, MVPs, around which businesses and sometimes even entire sectors have been built. This tight focus has led to an explosion of new tech-enabled businesses: media streaming, ride-sharing, crowdfunding. Every sector has been transformed: retail, banking, insurance, education, construction, logistics, manufacturing, transportation, agriculture. But placing human experience, typically an affluent consumer's experience, at the center of the design process has a dark side. We often become so enamored of a product or service we are blind to its consequences. A plastic bottle offers plenty of consumer convenience, but if the design process stops there, it also guarantees that our oceans will soon have more plastic than fish. And since plastic is mostly made from fossil fuel feedstocks, it guarantees a warmer planet, too. Likewise, social media networks have connected us in countless useful and delightful ways, but can be easily taken over by trolling, manipulative, bullying bots, or worse, and used to create division. The human-centered focus unwittingly put us at odds with everything else, people apart from nature rather than a part of nature. It promoted a kind of hyper-selfishness and a throwaway culture where true costs, or externalities, as economists call them, were routinely, artfully, conveniently hidden. It also put people at odds with each other. What is the true cost of a cheap chicken if workers in a poultry processing facility have to risk exposure to a killer virus in order to keep their jobs? What is the true cost if these workers aren't paid a living wage? Or if they have to live in fear that they or someone in their family could be deported at any time? COVID-19 exposed all sorts of fault lines. Any illusion that we were all in this together, meaning everyone was affected equally, was shattered by body counts proving otherwise. The murder of George Floyd ripped everything open. The days of Think Different, full of daring, disruptive, consumer-centric swagger, are over. Now we need to do different, to be different, to reclaim and strengthen the center, to chart a path that in hindsight will seem at once world-changing and inevitable. Design and designers have an important role to play, broadening the paradigm to one that embraces the greater whole and the greater good. The metrics are simple. If a product or service generates prosperity for the many instead of the few, do it. If it doesn't, don't. Fosters human rights, dismantles racism, do it. If it doesn't, don't. Improves the quality of the air, the water, and the land, do it. If it doesn't, don't. Supports health, personal, public, animal, plant, planet, do it. If it doesn't, don't. Supports science, education, and the arts, do it. If it doesn't, don't. Invests in both the short-term and the long-term future, do it. If it doesn't, don't. Build bridges, not walls. Regenerative design principles can be used to shape policies and programs that bake in social justice, to guide the transition from a take, make, waste consumer economy to one where waste and supply chains dovetail and environmental health has economic value. To redesign energy systems to be clean and efficient, to reconfigure supply chains for resilience, to revamp healthcare to provide affordable, universal coverage. So what would a regenerative city look like? Or a regenerative educational system? Or a regenerative transportation network? Systemic racism isn't a design flaw, but a feature. Efforts to undermine science and discredit journalists are strategic. Rolling back environmental protections is intentional. The tipping points are colliding. Time is running out. Everything is at stake. We have to get this right. The principles of regenerative design can help us do that.